title, and my wife's shocking party speech left me speechless. My revenge will stun you. The backyard glowed with string lights, their golden shimmer casting a warm haze over the crowd gathered for my surprise party, a celebration I hadn't expected after a grueling week at the print shop. I turned 43, and the sight of friends, balloons, and a table laden with my favorite foods lifted my spirits until Vesper, my wife, grabbed the microphone. Her voice cut through the chatter, sharp and commanding, as she said words I'll never forget. I'm leaving Thane for someone who actually matters. The crowd gasped, and I stood frozen, her betrayal a public dagger. Before I walked away, the silence behind me louder than any scream. I'm Thane, a man who fades into the background, slender, quiet, with a heart that feels too much. Vesper called me weak, her favorite jab, delivered with a sneer that made me feel small. I'd loved her since our first art gallery date, her fiery ambition a spark I thought we'd share, her sculptures a dream I supported with every late shift. But that spark had turned to ice, her ambition a wall I couldn't breach. Her late nights, her locked phone, the way she'd dismiss my concerns, they were signs I ignored, hoping love could fix us, until her words at the party shattered that hope. The night air was cool as I stumbled through the yard, past the string lights, the hum of the party fading behind me. My chest tightened, tears I despised burning my eyes, the weight of her public betrayal a physical blow. Someone who actually matters, she'd said, her voice dripping with disdain, as if I were nothing, as if our 12 years meant nothing. I'd found a man's watch in her car last month, not mine, but she'd laughed it off, calling me paranoid. You're so needy, Thane, she'd said, and I believed her, desperate to keep her, until her microphone confession exposed the truth. I drove aimlessly, the city lights blurring through my tears, my mind replaying her words, the gasps of our friends, the smirk on her face as she held the microphone. I knew who she meant, Cale, her gallery curator, the man she'd been working late with for months. I'd seen the way she looked at him at her last exhibit, her hand lingering on his arm, her laughter bright for him, not me. I'd asked her about it, but she'd rolled her eyes, dismissing me. Now, her public announcement was a knife, twisting deeper with every memory. I ended up at Amos's place, my only friend who'd never trusted Vesper. His apartment, a cluttered loft above a bakery, smelled of yeast and paint, a refuge from the storm inside me. He opened the door, his face softening as he saw my tears. What happened, Thane? He asked, pulling me inside. I collapsed onto his couch, the words spilling out. The surprise party, Vesper's microphone confession, my escape. Amos's jaw tightened, his usual humor gone. She's a monster, he said, handing me a coffee. You don't deserve this. I opened my notebook, a secret I'd kept since Vesper mocked my writing as childish, and wrote, I'm not nothing. The words felt fragile, but they sparked a flicker of defiance, a need to act, not just flee. Amos saw, his hand on my shoulder. You're enough, Thane, he said. She's the one losing. His support was a lifeline, a reminder I wasn't alone, his role in my journey a constant I cherished. I texted Mara, my coworker who'd seen me through Vesper's worst. Vesper announced she's leaving me at the party. I walked out. Her reply was instant. Come to the shop tomorrow. We'll fight back. The pain was raw, but so was my determination, a fire ready to burn through her lies, while Vesper stood with the microphone, her words a public wound I'd never forget, unaware of the strength I'd find in walking away. The bakery's warm aroma wafted through Amos's loft, a stark contrast to the cold ache in my chest as I sat on his couch, my notebook open to the shaky words, I'm not nothing, a fragile shield against the storm Vesper's betrayal had unleashed. Her voice at my surprise party, sharp and cruel through the microphone, I'm leaving Thane for someone who actually matters, replayed in my mind, a public wound that had left our friends stunned and me broken. I'd walked away, the string lights fading behind me, but the humiliation, the pain of her words, was a fire I couldn't douse, and I knew I had to fight back. Amos handed me a fresh coffee, his eyes serious as he sat across from me, the morning light filtering through his dusty blinds. You can't let her do this, Thane, he said, his voice firm, his role in my journey a steady anchor. She humiliated you in front of everyone. His words were a jolt, the truth I'd been dodging now unavoidable. I'd ignored the signs, her late nights, the watch in her car, her sneers, because I'd loved her, believed her when she called me needy. But her public announcement, her focus on Cale, was a line I couldn't unsee. I'm done, I said, my voice trembling but resolute, a defiance I'd never shown her before. I called Mara, My coworker at the print shop who'd always seen through Vesper's charm, her voice a lifeline over the phone. She announced she's leaving me at the party, I said, my voice cracking. I walked out. Mara's tone was fierce, protective. Good for you, Thane. Come to the shop, we'll figure this out. Her support, like Amos's, was a spark of courage, pushing me to act, not just flee. I showered, borrowed a clean shirt from Amos, and drove to the shop. My notebook clutched tight, the words a mantra I held onto, a fire growing within me. Mara was waiting, her warm smile a contrast to the storm inside me, as she pulled me into the back room. Tell me everything, she said, her eyes sharp with determination. I spilled it all, the party, Vesper's microphone confession, my escape. Mara's face hardened, her role in my fight a beacon of strength. We'll make her pay, she said, pulling out her phone. She called Elsie, a lawyer friend, putting her on speaker. He's got grounds for divorce, Elsie said, her voice crisp. And if she's hiding assets, we can dig deeper. I nodded, my resolve strengthening, and wrote. Her words don't define me. The words fueled me, a declaration of my fight. I needed evidence, something to solidify my case, a step toward agency I'd never taken with Vesper. I drove back to the house, the party remnants, balloons, empty glasses, still scattered, a painful reminder of her betrayal. Vesper was at the gallery, but her laptop was on the kitchen table, unlocked. I hesitated, guilt prickling, but opened it, my heart pounding. Emails to Kale filled the screen, plans to sell her sculptures through a shell company, siphoning profits to a joint account, a plot twist that hit like a punch. My breath caught, her financial deceit a new wound, but I took screenshots, my hands steady, and sent them to Elsie, the evidence a weapon I'd wield. Vesper came home as I was leaving, her eyes narrowing at the laptop in my hands. What are you doing, Thane? She demanded, her voice sharp, but there was a tremor, a flicker of fear, the Vesper who'd once admitted she feared losing her art to debt. I know about the shell company, the account, I said, my voice firm, the external conflict a battlefield I was ready for. Her face paled, a crack in her icy facade, but she sneered, masking it. You're delusional, she spat, her hand shaking, betraying her. I walked out, her voice trailing, you'll regret this asterisk, but I didn't look back, the screenshots in my pocket a ticking bomb, her stunned silence at the party now a prelude to her defeat, while I prepared to fight, a fire she couldn't extinguish. The city streets buzzed with midday traffic as I drove away from the house, Vesper's trembling threat, you'll regret this asterisk, a fading echo in my mind, her financial deceit with Kale now documented in the screenshots I'd sent to Elsie. Her words at my surprise party, I'm leaving Thane for someone who actually matters, had been a public dagger, her sneer a mask for the fear I'd seen in her shaking hands, but I'd walked away, confronted her with evidence. And now I was fighting back. I wasn't the Thane she'd mocked as weak, the one who'd stood stunned as she grabbed the microphone. I was reclaiming my life, and the fire within me burned brighter than her betrayal. At the print shop, Mara and Elsie were waiting, their faces set with determination as I handed over the screenshots, the joint account, and shell company a ticking bomb. Mara's eyes narrowed, her role in my fight a fierce anchor. She's done, Thane, she said, her voice sharp with pride. Elsie reviewed the evidence, her tone crisp. This is fraud, she said. We'll file for divorce and request an injunction to freeze her accounts. She won't get away with this. I nodded, my resolve ironclad, and wrote in my notebook, her empire crumbles, not mine. The words were a declaration, a step beyond the tears I'd shed, bolstered by their support. A twist came when Elsie dug deeper into the emails. She found a contract. Vesper and Kale had planned to sell her gallery's assets to a buyer overseas, using the shell company to hide the profits, leaving me with the debts. My breath caught, the betrayal a fresh wound, but it fueled my fight. She's desperate, Elsie said, her voice steady. She'll try to run, Thane. Be ready. I nodded, the stakes higher, my determination unyielding. I wasn't just leaving her, I was dismantling her world, piece by piece, with Mara and Elsie by my side. I decided to confront Kale, to shake their alliance, an external conflict I was ready to face. I drove to his loft, a modern space near the gallery, my heart pounding as I knocked. He opened the door, his smirk faltering as he saw me, the screenshots in my hand. I know everything, Kale, I said, my voice firm, a defiance I'd never shown Vesper. The shell company, the sale, the account. You're done. His face paled, a flicker of fear in his eyes, a glimpse of the man who'd hidden behind Vesper's control. She forced me into it, he stammered, his voice breaking, a confession I hadn't expected. She said you'd never find out. His betrayal of her was a crack, their united front crumbling. I left, the confrontation a victory, Cale's words a weapon Elsie could use. Back at Amos's, I wrote, I'm not their pawn. The pain of Vesper's microphone confession, her focus on Cale, still stung, but I was moving forward. Amos joined me, his grin wide as I recounted the day. You're a fighter, Thane, he said, clapping my shoulder, his role in my journey a constant warmth. Mara called, her voice urgent. Cale's talking to the authorities, she said. He's turning on Vesper to save himself. The twist solidified my path, Vesper's world unraveling faster than I'd imagined, her stunned silence at the party now a prelude to her defeat. I wasn't done. The writing group Mara had suggested became a new goal, a place to share my words, to heal through creation. I started sketching again, turning my notebook into a story of survival, a way to transform my pain. Vesper's betrayal at the party, her public announcement, had been her undoing, and I'd walked away, fought back, with Amos, Mara, and Elsie by my side. As the city's pulse hummed outside, I knew the next step was coming, a way to rise, to create. While Vesper faced the wreckage of her choices alone, her microphone words a memory I'd outgrow, replaced by a strength she'd never break. The bakery's warm glow seeped through the floorboards of Amos's loft, a quiet comfort as I sat with my notebook. The screenshots of Vesper's shell company and Cale's confession, she forced me into it, still fresh in my mind. Her words at my surprise party, I'm leaving Thane for someone who actually matters, had been a public wound. Her sneer a mask for the fear I'd seen in her crumbling alliance with Cale, but I'd walked away, confronted them both. And now I was dismantling her lies. I wasn't the Thane she'd mocked as weak, the one who'd stood stunned as she grabbed the microphone. I was fighting, and the fire within me burned brighter than her betrayal. Amos handed me a coffee, his eyes sharp with pride. You've got her on the run, Thane, he said, sitting across from me, his role in my journey a steady anchor. Cale's testimony is a game changer. I nodded, the weight of Vesper's deceit, her affair, her financial schemes, still heavy, but my resolve was ironclad. Mara texted, court hearing tomorrow, Thane. Vesper's accounts are frozen. The news was a surge of power, Cale's betrayal tipping the scales, Vesper's world unraveling faster than I'd imagined. I wrote, her lies are her prison. The words were a vow, a step beyond the pain, fueled by their support. Elsie called, her voice urgent with a twist. Vesper tried to flee, she said. She booked a flight to Paris last night, but the authorities stopped her. Her accounts are locked, and she's facing fraud charges. My breath caught, the depth of her desperation a shock, her fear at Cale's loft now a prelude to her failed escape. She's at the gallery, packing, Elsie added. She's a mess, Thane. Be ready. I nodded, the stakes higher, my determination unyielding. I wasn't just fighting for justice, I was reclaiming my worth, piece by piece, with Mara, Amos, and Elsie by my side. I drove to the gallery, needing to face her one last time, an external conflict I was ready to tackle. The space was a shadow of its former glory, empty walls, scattered crates, her sculptures half-packed. Vesper stood amidst the chaos, her face pale, her eyes red, a flicker of the woman who'd once admitted she feared losing her art to failure, now living that fear. Thane, she whispered, her voice breaking as she saw me, no trace of her sneer. I didn't mean for this. I was scared, trapped. Her words trembled, a glimpse of genuine regret, but I saw the manipulation beneath, her hands clutching a crate, her eyes darting to the door. You meant to destroy me, I said, my voice steady, cutting through her lies. You announced it to everyone, Vesper, but I'm not your pawn anymore. Her face crumpled, tears spilling, and for a moment, I thought she'd break, but she straightened, her voice sharp. You'll never understand, she snapped, her vulnerability a mask, her control gone. I turned to leave, her voice trailing, Thane, please, but I didn't look back, the confrontation a victory, her stunned silence at the party now a prelude to her defeat. I drove to the library, my notebook open, writing. I'm free. The pain of her betrayal, her microphone words, still lingered, but I was moving forward. Mara met me at the library, her hug fierce. You're almost there, Thane, she said, her role in my journey a constant warmth. Amos texted, proud of you, man. Court tomorrow, let's finish this. Their support was a foundation, their active roles in my fight a lifeline. The court hearing loomed, a final battle to seal my freedom, but I was ready, armed with evidence, resolve, and a fire within. Vesper's betrayal at the party, her public announcement, had been her undoing, and I'd walked away, fought back, with Amos, Mara, and Elsie by my side. As the city's lights glowed outside, I knew the last step was coming, a way to heal, to create. While Vesper faced the wreckage of her choices alone, her microphone confession a memory I'd outgrow, replaced by a strength she'd never break. The courtroom's heavy air lifted as the judge's gavel fell, sealing Vesper's fate and freeing me from the chains of her betrayal. Her words at my surprise party, "I'm leaving Thane for someone who actually matters," had been a public wound, her sneer a mask for the fear I'd seen in her crumbling empire. But I'd walked away, fought back with evidence. And now her fraud charges and failed escape had left her with nothing. I confronted her, faced Kale, and stood tall. Thane, the man she'd called weak, now a victor in a battle she never expected me to win. Elsie's final update came as I left the courthouse. "You've got the house, Thane, and a settlement from the gallery's assets." A last twist, Vesper had tried to pin the gallery's debts on Kale, but his testimony exposed her further, leaving her with probation and a shattered career. Her tearful plea at the gallery, "I was scared," Thane was a memory I let go. Her regret a glimpse of the woman who feared failure, now living it. But I didn't linger on her pain. My focus was on the life I was building, one she couldn't touch. I transformed the house, once a stage for her betrayal, into a home. I painted the backyard fence a soft green, hung my sketches, once hidden from her scorn, and turned the party space, where she'd grabbed the microphone, into a small art studio. The string lights were placed with a skylight. The writing group Mara introduced me to became a sanctuary, their encouragement a balm. Among them was Lila, a painter with a quiet laugh and hands that shaped color like she shaped my healing. We'd grown close, our talks about art turning to walks, then dinners, her presence a light I'd never known. At the group's art showcase, I shared a series of sketches, my party, Vesper with the microphone, me walking away, and finally, a self-portrait in the studio, light streaming in. I paired them with a poem, Echoes of Silence, my words raw but real. Lila read it aloud, her voice steady, and the applause was warm, a rush of pride replacing the shame Vesper had instilled. "You're incredible, Thane," Lila said, her hand in mine, and I believed her. The weight of Vesper's insults, weak, needy, gone. Amos and Mara were there, Amos cheering loudest, Mara's eyes shining. "You turned pain into beauty," she said, her role in my journey a constant, alongside Amos's unwavering support, their presence a foundation I'd rebuild on. A symbolic act of closure came when I donated the microphone from that night, preserved in a glass case, to the group's art auction, titled Words I'll Never Forget. The proceeds funded an art therapy program for kids, turning betrayal into hope, a gesture that felt like reclaiming my birthday. Vesper faded to a footnote, her probation a quiet end, Kale long gone. I didn't care. My life was here, with Lila's laughter, Amos's sketches on my walls, Mara's texts about new art gigs, my work in a local exhibit. I started running by the river, the water's rhythm matching my own, Lila often joining me, her hand in mine a steady joy. Happiness wasn't loud, it was Lila's touch, the group's applause, Amos's bad puns, my art shared with a room that listened. Vesper's betrayal at the party, her microphone confession, had been her undoing, and I'd walked away, fought back, with Amos, Mara, and Elsie by my side. The external conflict in court, the gallery confrontation, had been my stage to stand tall, and I'd won, not by her rules, but by creating. As I stood in the studio, Lila at my side, the words I'll never forget piece replaced by a new sketch of us, I knew I'd turned 43 into a new beginning, a life of art, love, and light, while Vesper faced the emptiness of her own making. Drop your thoughts in the comments, I read them all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to help this video reach more viewers. See you in the next one.